Well, a large part of the recovery here in Fort McMurray can be tied to the Canadian Red Cross, and officials say they are not going anywhere, knowing that recovery does in fact take time. And so to the people of Fort McMurray, the Red Cross has promised to stay put as long as they're needed. And of course, thanks to the generosity of Canadians who have opened their wallets wide, they still have plenty more to give. An unprecedented $323 million has been collected from Canadians coast to coast and through government matching. And 1 year later, the Red Cross has spent $244 million by providing support to individuals, families, businesses, and community groups. And most of that money, $183 million, has been given to more than 65,000 families who reached out to the Red Cross. $24 million going back to the community for things like summer camps for kids, school supplies, and support for the food bank. And $28.5 million to support more than 3,200 small businesses here in Fort McMurray. And now we're going to touch base with Ted Henley. It's the story of a Fort McMurray woman who, through sheer determination and a little help from the Red Cross, has managed to help grow her business 1 year later.
I remember looking outside and there was huge flames behind the hill there.
This picture was taken 1 year ago, 1 hour before 88,000 people were told to escape the flames of Fort McMurray. Christy Pinckney Hines is still emotional about that day. At that point, having no idea when she'd be back to a business she's put her heart and soul into since 2012.
Evacuating from Fort McMurray.
Packed in the car, Christy, her 3 kids, a dog and a cat, they all head north. It takes 8 long hours. They get on a plane and then head to Calgary. 1 month later, Christy heads back home with thousands of her neighbors, getting devastating news about her business, her livelihood, and much more.
The adjuster told me that I was underinsured on my contents and that all my medical supplies that I had rebought wouldn't be covered. The cleaning of the clinic, I had to throw out over $7,000 in immunizations. There was huge expenses that weren't covered, so it was pretty shocking. And then on top of that, I left my clinic that was smoke damaged, finding out I was underinsured, and then I'd had a rental property burned down, and then when I went home, my home had been robbed of $30,000.
Then a bright spot. Christy hears about the Red Cross helping out small businesses in town.
On the right-hand side, we took a significant hit over here.
The wildfire leaves hundreds of businesses destroyed or damaged. A year later, the Abysan Mall remains shut down, but the Red Cross is trying to get businesses like these back on their feet.
Small business is so essential to the vibrancy of a community before a disaster and even more so after a disaster.
I had so many uncovered costs with insurance. Had to have been at least $30,000. So I always say that when they threw out the lifeline, I grabbed on and swam in like Michael Phelps going for the gold medal.
May 3rd of last year, I was exactly where I am today, working in my office when the notifications came out to evacuate. I'm only 7 minutes from home, but by the time I reached Highway 63, we were not allowed back into the Beacon Hill neighborhood. We had a 16-month-old Shih Tzu and a 5-year-old talking parrot, which we miss dearly, and I think that's, for us, that was the hardest thing to deal with, that I couldn't get in and rescue them. I would like to thank all of the first responders that were here in town that day that ensured that we got out safely. I'd like to thank the first responders that came in and helped battle the fire to keep our city safe so that we could come back.
Five firefighters, 5 charities, 100 hours. This is the 6th annual Fort McMurray Firefighters Rooftop Campout. The firefighters say it's their chance to give back to the community. But many would argue they did that in spades during last year's fire.
My house on my street was the first one on fire. It was already fully engulfed when we got there. It was already past even attempting.
Firefighter Mark Stevenson is among some 20 firefighters whose homes burned to the ground as they helped to save thousands of others from the same fate.
My dad was a firefighter, my oldest brother was a firefighter, my twin brother's a firefighter. It's just something that, you know, going through high school, that was just always the plan.
Scott Germain was battling flames 2 streets away as his own home was devoured. At the same time, though, Scott's twin brother Jamie, also a Fort McMurray firefighter, did what he could to save the home, but it was too far gone.
Put it in. Ryan. Put it in. How you doing? Bring the little dog. Thank you. Thanks, sweetie. Oh, that's awesome.
Back at the Rooftop Campout, you can see these firefighters are moving on, looking forward, and beginning to heal, along with the rest of Fort McMurray.
Community support's a huge thing, right? The fact that we can have not just our entire fire department, but, you know, all these different nonprofit groups, the entire municipality, the public, the fact that everyone can come together for a common goal, I think is great for the healing process.
It was a traumatic event for a lot of people. A lot of people are still struggling. A lot of people struggle with that for a long time, but hopefully it does, yeah, put it behind everybody and just start moving forward, start getting your sense of normalcy back.
Good morning. How's it going?
The people of Fort McMurray have big hearts, and while there are scars, many say this tragedy has instilled a sense of home, a sense of this is our community, Fort McMurray strong. Last year's wildfire paused the firefighters' rooftop campout, and with this community on a road to recovery, this year's fundraiser was more important than ever. More than $46,000 was raised.
Everybody loves firefighters, like, right?
When the fire broke out, you were just like, how am I going to protect my child? How am I going to survive this? I heard stories of mums wondering if they should jump in the river at the Snai with their kids because they didn't know if they could get them out, if because their cars were starting to melt. It was overwhelming to see what was left, because at the beginning you thought there's going to be nothing left but hills. Weren't sure how certain neighborhoods would look, and that was painful to experience. We had friends that came out of the woodwork that we kind of forgot we even had in our lives, that helped us with filling up the gas tank or making sure that we had a place to stay. Like it was overwhelming support, and from complete strangers.
Do you hear that? Happy fans packed into the Casman Center, home of the beloved oil barons.
I stressed at the start of the year that I really felt that the role that our organization and our team was going to play in the community was going to be very vital, not only from a sense that we're out in the community physically doing things, but I think just the therapeutic role that we were able to play. We were maybe an escape for people on a Friday night or a Saturday to get away from their everyday lives and come to the rink, maybe enjoy a few wobbly pops and cheer on a team that they can be proud of.
Jonathan Phillips is a longtime loyal fan.
Exciting coming to watch the soccer team this year. It gets me away from thinking of the wildfire.
All residents of Fort McMurray should be ready to go.
Brandon Ralph is the Oil Barons captain. He's from Fort McMurray, but watched the events of May 3rd unfold from nearly 500 kilometers away in Fort Saskatchewan.
I remember the day the fire happened. My teammate Toby Schaller, I'll never forget, him texting. He said, "Okay, boys, my phone's gonna die. If I don't make it out, I love you guys."
Our players have embraced the fact that we go out, and it's not only to schools to play floor hockey. We're involved in lunch programs. We're involved in reading programs. We're involved with handing out turkeys at Thanksgiving. And the group has been very good, where obviously the main goal is to have the best results we can have, but it is to be involved in the community. And the amount that our players have given truly speaks to the volume and the character that we have, in this dressing room.
A turnaround on the ice saw the Oil Barons go from basement dwellers to division champions, the first time in over a decade. And some familiar faces not seen in the rink for years have come back.
The Oil Barons picks up this entire community, and especially this year after the fire, it really has a deeper meaning this year. to get everybody involved into what makes this town special, and these oil barons are a huge part of that.
Fort McMurray has undeniably rallied around the oil barons, with playoff crowds swelling to well over 1,600 people.
There's nothing like the Casman Center and playoffs. Watching the oil barons growing up and watching my favorite players, watching like the glass shake and the noise in the Casman Center. This is a junior hockey town, and the fan response has been absolutely incredible.
To remind themselves who they're playing for, the oil barons wore a special Fort Mac Strong patch this season.
I really believe that this organization is a microcosm, or mimics what this community is about. The entire community comes together and they help each other out. And this is not, we understand that you're only as strong as your weakest link. So I know that for us, it's when, you know, if your neighbor was affected or a friend, you were affected, because we all live together. This is a proud community that it'll take us some time to get back on our feet, but we'll be there.